My triglycerides were through the roof. My liver enzymes were like completely shot. Everything was bad.
Hi, welcome back to Carnivore Nation. And today I've got a fantastic guest in Brian Finnegan. Brian, can you introduce us to yourself, especially prior to you going down the carnivore journey?
Yep, I was fat, overweight, unhealthy.
Well, I've got a couple of pictures I'll flash up for people to see. So obviously this was you on the left as well as the right.
Yeah, I was nearly 300 pounds. It was just prior to COVID, I ballooned up to that weight. Yep.
Yeah, that's quite incredible. So were you, because obviously you now do endurance sport, etc. Because the reason I came across you is we're both members of a certain carnivore Facebook group, and I saw a post that you put up, and I think someone was asking about cycling and running, and you interjected and gave some info, and I thought, wow. So that's why I reached out to you to say, can I get you on this channel? Because being Carnivore Nation, I'm trying to be inclusive from sports people to people that have really been up against it. So give us a little bit of your story leading up to your carnivore journey.
Yeah, like I said, prior to carnivore, I was unhealthy, overweight. I was using alcohol a lot to try to sleep. I had a lot of sleep problems. I still kind of do, but it's not as bad on carnivore. But yeah, I had gone to the doctor. It was just after COVID started to like loosen up a little bit, around March of 2020, and I got some blood work done. They ran it. I was high. My ferritin levels were off the charts. They were up over 980. They told me I gotta start giving blood. I gotta lose weight. My triglycerides were through the roof. My liver enzymes were like completely shot. Everything was bad. So it shocked me into wanting to get healthy. So
so you mentioned about the alcohol. What was your food dietary sort of intake then? What was it? The standard American diet?
Yep, standard American diet. Yep.
Okay.
And I got two kids too, so it's constant snacks in the house. There's cookies and stuff like that. So it was bad at the time.
Okay. So how did you discover carnivore?
Jordan Peterson, actually.
Same here, right?
Yep. I was watching a couple of his videos on YouTube, and then I stumbled across Anthony Chafee and then a few of the other influencers, and started to interest me a little bit. I didn't go straight into carnivore. I went into a little bit more keto, and then I went into more ketovore, and then I transitioned slowly into carnivore. I wasn't fully bought on to not using carbs for endurance sports yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was still like on the fence up until about, I would say, 8 or 9 months ago.
Right.
That's when I went full blown experimentation into carnivore, and it's paid off. It's definitely paid off. But
and as you've touched upon, you now do endurance sport, etc. So,
correct.
Were you obviously weren't doing it when you were overweight in the original pictures, but were you like into the sports before then, years gone by, or?
Yeah, back in school, I was into track and running and stuff like that, but it wasn't as big to me back in the day. I did lose a lot of weight back when I was in college, because I had ballooned after I got out of high school. But I did get into running back then a lot as well, but it with injuries and stuff like that, it didn't really pan out. And then eventually I gained back all the weight, and then it snowballed into pretty much what you saw prior to COVID.
Yeah. So take us through. You did like one of those sort of transitional from one, like the ketone, all the way through into the carnivore side of it. So what was, obviously the weight was the issue, the health was the issue, but how did you sort of find it when you first started it? Because there's going to be a number of people watching this type of program where they're interested in doing it and they're not sure. Now you've taken it to an extreme by you doing the endurance sport. So tell us, from 300 pounds to, through that journey.
Well, I mean, it took a while. I started off slow. I did walking pretty much. That is all that I could do. I tried to go do like a light jog, and I started just injuring myself constantly. And it was a snowball effect of just constantly like hurting myself, trying to recover, hurting myself. So started taking it easy. I started using a recumbent bike. That's what helped me originally get into cycling. And it just snowballed from there. I just started lifting weights, eating cleaner, and just staying committed to actually working out. And then eventually,
So
when I got down to the weight that I wanted to, I
yeah.
started running again and cycling, and it snowballed from there.
So based on these three photos here for your transition, so take us, how long ago was this first photo, this one, and then the one at the bottom, the very impressive one at the bottom.
So that would be about, I would say, about 2 years. I did lose the initial weight at first prior to starting carnivore. I was doing the ketovore. I did
Yeah.
lose most of the initial weight on there, but I did have a lot of visceral fat that was just staying on my body.
Mm.
I never had abs, even being in excellent shape and still doing endurance sports. It was just all the carbs and sugary snacks and stuff like that that you'd take during races or whatnot, or training, whatever. But it would just eventually, like, I even tried some vegan stuff, vegan proteins, like
Yeah.
nothing would settle the gut during a run or a race or whatever. But yeah, it was my gut was constantly in a knot, pretty much.
Yeah. Cool. So so obviously you've started to shift the weight. You've obviously got into doing the endurance side of it. How does the lifestyle now suit you with your training? And so when you say endurance, what sort of distances are you covering? What sort of routines are you doing in terms of exercise?
Right now, I'm not doing any running blocks. It's still kind of chilly out. I don't particularly like to run when it's cold. My muscles don't function that well.
So you're a
That's
fair
what
weather
usually leads
sport.
to injuries. But right now I cycle. I do indoor cycling all throughout the winter to stay fit. I also do some weight training, some light calisthenics, yoga, stuff like that to stay flexible. Right now, I'm kind of doing a mix of indoor and outdoor cycling because the weather's kind of hit and miss here in New Jersey. Right now, we're up to, I mean, I could go well up over 200 miles on a bicycle right now, fasted completely. No snacks, just water, electrolytes,
So,
and
so
it's
that's interesting
incredible.
because that was part of your answer that I picked up on. So naturally, you think of sports people taking on carbs while they're doing their side of it, and you answered that question really well. So, would you like to explore into that area for me so people watching can see the benefit of what you've been doing?
Sure. I mean, I'd like to say I'm not going to mention any names. I have talked to some professionals in the cycling community as well as the running community, but a lot of these professional cyclists and runners, they all are on a ketogenic or carnivore or animal-based diet. They all say that they're taking these carbohydrate snacks, all these gels, stuff like that during the races because they have the sponsorships. Most of them do, but they train their guts to do it. It takes a long time, a lot of training to do that. But I was never able to do it. Can't do it. It's like having a brick in your stomach. But
They're professionals, so it's sponsorship is a way of they earn money to do their particular sport. So it's
correct.
understandable why that kind of influence would be in there. But that's an
Yep.
interesting point of view. But you say that you now can do serious distance without anything more than water in terms
Right.
of your repatriation of energy. Yeah.
As long as you fuel prior the night
Yeah.
before with a very fatty red meat meal, you're good. But you also have to train to ride fasted or run fasted. It's not going
Yeah.
to happen overnight. It
Yeah,
took
we're not going to lose. Like for example, I'm not going to go and do 200 miles tomorrow because I'm on the carnival. I fully get that. So
Yep.
because it's interesting because here in the UK today is London Marathon Day, and in my wisdom, quite a few years back, well, before I became obese and then obviously went on the carnivore, for charity I did the London Marathon, and interesting enough, the night before I had the biggest bowl of pasta you could ever imagine. So here's me going through the start. It's a 35 kilo, 400-year-old suit of armor, which I thought was
Oh my
funny at the
God.
because my name is Day. I thought it would be funny to do it as a night.
Oh.
This is me about 10, 11 miles in. So what's about 16 kilometers in, and this is me 9 hours 46 minutes later
God.
at the finisher line in absolute agony. So, but had I known now, and I had a big fatty steak before, I'd have been in a lot better state than I was in my massive bowl of pasta.
You definitely, you might have been better.
Well, because I've got myself fit again, and the interesting thing for me, I've got fit again without hardly any training whatsoever. I have a dog, an English bulldog, so he's not the most energetic dog in the world. So I walk him probably twice a day, and that's probably the majority of the exercise. I do the odd press ups, sit ups, pull ups when I've got, feel overcharged. But I am thinking of putting that suit of armor on again and doing some other charity events. But I'm gonna do it as a carnivore, so to see if I don't look so I don't fall to bits like I did on that one. So, but anyhow, this is your chat. I thought I'd just chip that in because it is marathon day here in the UK, and so
that is impressive.
Have you considered doing a marathon or even a triathlon with your skill sets?
I want to. It's too expensive to do it around here. They want way too much money. The sport has gotten too greedy. I do some low level races around here, but nothing like the big New York marathons or anything like that anymore. It's just too much. It costs too much, $900 and something. You got to get selected, and it's almost impossible to get picked for it. So
okay. So is it a different system in America then? Because like for me, I got a place. I did 4 weeks of training for the London Marathon because like yourself, I had one or two many Irish drinks that come black with a white top on, but I won't name it for advertising points of view, but I think people can work it out. And decided to do something rather in a merry state, forgot about it. A week later, I get a text message telling me my bid on eBay had won, and I'd bought this medieval suit of armor for £1,800. Which was a difficult conversation to have with my wife then.
Oof.
And then when I told her, well, yeah, I've committed for the British Heart Foundation to raise £5,000, they've given me a place at the London Marathon in 4 weeks' time. So it was a bit of a daft thing to do, and I think I'd do it more. But does that not work in America, where you do something for charity, you get an automatic place, or that's not the case?
No, they do that. They do that. It's just that with my schedule, I probably wouldn't be able to get it done.
That's fair enough. So,
yeah.
So take us through what your daily diet would be now when you're out of season training, when you're in season training.
I mean, pretty much. I train hard pretty much all year now. Carnivore's pretty much unlocked limitless possibilities as far as training for me. You just don't get sore anymore. You recover so fast. I mean, you can go out, do a 100-mile ride, and come back. Prior to me doing carnivore, it would take like 2-3 days to recover. Now I could literally go out and do the same thing the next day. It's nuts.
So that's an interesting point then. So your recovery on carnivore, well, is it recovery? Is it a case that you, as you say, you're reset, ready to go, or?
Yep, reset, ready to go. The muscles are strong. They feel great. I mean, it shocks me. It almost makes you feel superhuman.
What a great line to use. That's a brilliant way to describe it. So you say you still have sleep issues, because I found my sleep improved massively. So you say are you not sleeping well still, or is it just because your energy levels?
It's pretty much the energy levels. I think that's what it is. I have not had this level of energy in a long time, especially having kids. But since I've gone on carnivore, it's just skyrocketed. And especially working the shift that I do, I work second shift. I get home late. I'm usually like wired by the time I get home, so doesn't usually bid well for that.
Okay, so anyone watching this and thinking about going on to the carnivore lifestyle, I hate using the word diet. I'd rather call it a lifestyle, because I think it's something you can live with going forward. What would be your advice to people? Bearing in mind you're not a doctor, this is your opinion rather than advice as such. I'll just put that up just to cover ourselves. But what would you say in terms of for people considering it, or even athletes that want to improve their performance and consider going on the carnivore as well?
I think that the best thing is they should try it. Just give it a shot. I mean, it's people are too addicted to the carbs and the sugar, and it weighs heavy on their mind, their conscious when they're thinking about going on that type of diet or way of eating, and they think that they can't do it. But it's very simple. And when they have a steak, I mean, most people when they have a steak, they're happy. I mean, I don't know about you. When I have a ribeye, I'm like super stoked when always smiling.
And do you eat 1, 2, 3 meals a day? Do you fast at all? Is there any sort of routine you have there?
I usually don't eat breakfast. I usually do fasted training in the mornings. I sometimes will have a pound of bacon before I go out on a ride. Never before a run though. For some reason, it just completely makes me dried out, and I can't run without having water with me, and it's just not a good recipe for training. So I usually just run fasted. But everything else, sometimes I will have a meal before I go out.
Right. Okay, so that's interesting. And then you literally have just water with you. You don't take any salts or any other stuff with you.
No, usually all the electrolyte uptake will happen the night prior. I usually consume about 4 of the element packets. I drink a lot of water. I fill up this 40 ounce with the element and the water. I drink probably about 4 or 5 of those the night before. I'm super hydrated. So the next day it'll flush out eventually. You will dehydrate yourself after your ride, but you could gain it back.
So everything you've discovered is very positive. Is there any negatives that you've discovered being on this lifestyle, apart from probably socializing eating out, which I always find tricky?
Yeah, it's definitely tricky going out to eat. We tend to stick to, like, if we do go out to eat, it's like a chain steakhouse like Longhorn or something like that. They're pretty friendly with working with what you want. So like they'll give us the steak, and then my kids, they'll eat like the sides, and that'll be their meal. But I really haven't found too many negatives other than maybe you do get that keto flu. Some people do it. I didn't really experience too much of that when I started because I did transition slowly to it. I do recommend people prime themselves prior to going on carnivore. I wouldn't just go cold turkey and just cut out carbs.
Yeah, well, I made that mistake. I did that, and I did have a day and a half of that fuzzy head and lethargic. Yep. But then suddenly, as you said, felt like I was on a superpower.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I'd also want to mention to the athletes out there. I don't know if they would notice, but when I was eating a lot of carbohydrates while in training and during races and stuff like that, you would have a problem focusing. You could not focus on a single thought. It was horrible. I'd go to work and like people would be talking to me and I would be like, "What? What are you saying?" You can't even get a sentence out. Once I went to carnivore, it was completely different. Completely clear-headed. Everything was fine.
And have you done your bloods since?
Not yet. I'm waiting for a full year on carnivore. I want to do a full year, and then I'm going to run the blood work.
Okay, so how far in are you now then? When did you?
I'm almost there. I'm like at about 11 and a half months right now.
All right, you're just ahead of me. So I was 10 months anniversary yesterday. So
oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Didn't get any presents, but you know. Then
we're superhuman.
I've got the presence of health and fitness, so that's
it.
I mean, I surprised me. I'm 58 years old. I'm coming up to 58 this year, and I'm now at the fitness levels of when I was 18, and my resting heart rate and all my measurements are coming in when I was super fit, and I was doing judo at quite a decent level. So. And then I spent 30 years turning into sumo, and then within 10 months, I'm back down to my judo. So I'm quite happy with it.
You look great. You don't look your age. Let's put it that way.
Well, thank you very much.
If there's one thing about carnivore, it definitely reverse ages you. I've noticed that with everybody I've seen.
I don't know if you've seen Alex, who is Carnivore for Life. He's 63 years old and he looks about 10 years younger than me.
Wow.
He is and he regularly gets people on YouTube saying you're lying about your age. Show us your birth certificate. They
Yep.
generally don't believe. And honestly, he looks incredible. So you're right. It does. I found like with my skin, like yourself, I was much larger when I first started, and I'm fortunate. My skin has tightened as I've lost the weight.
Yep.
Did you find that the same? You obviously combining with you doing exercise probably helps. Because a
Yeah.
number of
Yeah.
people do find that they still have the loose skin.
I have a tiny little bit of loose skin left, just a tiny little bit around the belly button area. You could
Yeah.
kind of see it in the picture, how my belly button kind of flattens out.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Most of it had tightened up, and I would say that fasting definitely helps with that.
Yeah.
I would do like a couple. If I had to make a recommendation to people, I would say maybe do some intermittent fasting, maybe like twice a week,
Right.
and it definitely will tighten up the skin.
Okay. So so you fast as well then?
Yep, I occasionally fast, but most of my training is fasted. So I stop eating at midnight, and I usually don't eat past that. And I'm usually my first meal is not till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So wow, that's a fair old stint. And you exercise prior to that eating as well, do you? Or do you exercise
Yep.
in yeah. That's incredible. Because I did a live stream last week with Todd, who's the Carnivore Cure on YouTube, and
Hmm.
he goes 80 odd hours fasting, and
No,
he's lost 250 pounds or whatever it is. You know, he's personally,
the only
I
thing you
exited
got to be
like
careful
you, I
with is the
exited
muscle
too
loss.
fast. Yeah, sorry.
The only thing you have to be careful with fasting is the muscle loss. You will lose
Yeah, yeah,
muscle.
yeah. Well, Todd mentions about priming before, so it's a little bit like getting preset, so you've
Hmm.
got the right, you know, items in your body for your body to be able to then use the fasting period to do the repairs and whatever. So I'm not
Yep.
an expert on fasting, but like you, I kind of accidentally, I find sometimes I may skip meals all day long and not even realize it,
Yep.
but then I'm not doing any endurance stuff like you are. So you probably do need to.
Sometimes, I mean, I could be finished with a long ride, 150 miles, and I'll come home and I won't be able to eat, and I'll have to fast until I'm hungry.
Wow.
So I mean,
That's
it depends on how much you eat and how much your body's actually consuming during your working out, your training. It's all dependent. It's all. I mean, I can't really say anything. I'm my own experiment right now, so I'm trying it
yeah.
out.
So on that basis, then, what's your short-term future plans in terms of your own experiment in your training? What do you hope to achieve in the next 3-4 months?
I want to see how far I could push it. I want to see how many miles I could keep going without bonking, as they say in cycling or running. I want to see how far you could push the body.
And have you had any injuries? Have you found that you're not becoming injury prone? I don't know. I'm not saying it's the miracle cure, but you know,
I have not had any major injuries since I've started carnivore.
and illnesses.
No illnesses.
So because that's what I've noticed. I've had where before I'd get every winter I'd get a cold or you
Yep.
know or a version of COVID or whatever it was, but I've crystal clear. I just find it. I'm just waiting for it to come and hit me. Now I've said it, but
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I have kids. They always bring home stuff from school, and they've had COVID a couple times, the flu, and I've been around them. Haven't gotten sick. My wife's gotten sick. I have not gotten sick since I've started carnivore. It's insane. Been around tons of sick people, and it's it's incredible. And I used to get sick a lot. Used to get sick a lot.
yeah, well, yeah, because most athletes they're running their body to absolute breakdown
Yep.
almost, aren't they? So therefore, you're more susceptible. But what you're saying is you can still do this endurance side of it, and you're still got that recovery, whichever immunity to the various out there. So that's really really impressive.
Yeah,
So
it's
have you got
incredible.
any? Have you got the rest of your family on the carnivore, or are you the only carnivore in the household? Or
Right now, I'm currently the only carnivore in the house. I mean, my wife, she is currently animal based slash keto, but she's just not. She hasn't bought on to the carnivore thing. She's just still kind of, I wouldn't say brainwashed, but she still feels the need that she has to have vegetables and stuff like that and fruit. So
okay,
it's difficult.
and
And
what about
the kids is
the children?
difficult.
It's interesting because I don't know if you've seen Carnivore Soldier, Larry, who does his YouTube. His son, who's 14 or 15, joined his dad on Carnivore, and he does a lot of cross country running, or I don't know what you call it in America, but and
Yep, same
he's
here.
he smashed all his stats, and he
I'll
wants to
believe
stay
it.
on Carnivore because of the improvement of it. So, but it's a moral element because people start saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that to your children. It's right, do it yourself and not the
Yeah.
children." But there's questions about the junk and the processed foods that are in the standard American diet, or the British diet, that I know doing it again, I would encourage people to be much more fat and animal based. So
Yeah,
being
it's tough. With kids, it's very difficult. They market everything and they gear everything in the supermarket towards the children.
yeah,
It's disgusting. You walk in and everything's packaged like right at their eye level, and they're constantly grabbing it, throwing it in the cart, and you don't want them to eat it. And at the same time, it's like you don't want them to miss out on stuff that you had. At the same time, you don't want to be a drill sergeant, but you know it's bad, and you I look at it this way. I'm gonna them when they get to an age where they can make their decision that they want to eat like that, they can eat like that. If not, they can choose to eat the way they want. I'm not gonna force it on them. I wish they would. My oldest son is kind of taking an interest to it now, but not so much. It's still tough to break him.
but it is, and it's the environment they're in as well, with amongst their friends and things like that, and you don't want
Yeah.
them to stand out in the wrong way. So it is a balance and act that you need to consider. But I wish you the best of luck with that one. So
Thank you. Thank you.
what we I mean, the reason I set up Carnivore Nation is to get not only my message out there, but people like yourself that have seen the light, or you've benefited from this particular lifestyle. What sort of thing do you think we need to project out there to to other people to understand?
I think it is the messaging that meat is bad is we got to try to get that out of people's head. It's not bad. It's healing. I tell people all the time when they have an injury, a sports injury or something like that. I tell them eat red meat. You will feel better. The next day they'll eat it, and then the next day they're like, wow, I did feel better. It's it's insane. People are just brainwashed by the messaging, and
Yeah,
it's hard to break them.
yeah. Well, I'm of an age where I've been brought up that low fat, high carb diet is the healthy, high fibers, grains, all that side of it is
Yep.
the way of life. And from what I'm discovering now, it's almost the complete opposite. The
Hmm.
reason why I'm self-funding myself doing a PhD around the carnivore diet is because I want to touch base with people like you, and you can be part of my research going forward based on yourself, because I generally believe that we have been misled, and big food and big pharma only benefit if we're sick.
Yep. Oh, I 100% agree. 100% agree with that.
Healthy doesn't make them money.
Yep.
So
They want you to be sick and fat and unhealthy because you're a patient for life. You're a customer for life. You're always going to be shelling money out to them.
yeah. So I'm a big advocate of I'm never going to preach to people, but I'm an advocate of it. Give people the opportunity to make informed decisions. Then, if they want to eat the
Correct.
junk, they can eat the junk. That's their choice. And I had
Yeah.
I did a post on Friday, which I obviously had a couple of vegans come on telling me I'm talking out of my area that I shouldn't be talking out of, and I don't understand about nutrition. And then when I put the argument back to them that you get what the body needs in nutrition, you can get totally from meat and from fat, with the exception of certain salts like magnesiums and things like that, which you can get from
Correct.
electrolytes, which you would improve. So salt, water, meat, and fat a human can live really healthily and benefit from. And it's interesting that the majority of all addictions is plant-based, from the marijuanas, the heroines, the cocaines, through to tobacco, to alcohol. All these elements are plant-based. I don't hear anyone addicted to a steak.
I mean, I could tell you, I love steak. I mean, I, I, I could tell you I'm addicted to steak, but I mean,
Yeah, but the reason you're addicted to the steak is what you're getting from it in terms of the
correct,
benefits.
correct. I'm craving the benefits. That's exactly.
Yeah. So do you ever have any cravings at all? Have you ever missed anything, or do you
I
cheat occasionally?
No, I honestly I don't miss much. I still have ice cream every once in a while, but it's made at the farm that I go pick up the raw milk that I buy. It's 100% organic ingredients. And I'm not one of those people that if I have some sugar or whatever, that I have to go have more sugary snacks afterwards, something like that. But it's something we'll go do when we go pick up the milk. We'll get some ice cream and I'll have a small little cup of it, but it's nothing crazy.
And do you drink alcohol at all, or you completely
No.
cut it out?
Yeah, I cut it out completely. I went cold turkey when my doctor told me it was going to kill me, and never went back to it. And I did try it. At one point, not about a year and a half ago, and it completely tasted like rubbing alcohol to me. I couldn't do it. I
See,
used to
I'm
also
half Irish.
smoke too.
I'm half Irish, so I have to have some alcohol, but I do limit it very much. So, but yeah, so that's really interesting how and that doesn't affect you in a social environment. You're quite comfortable within that environment, because a lot of people say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't do without a drink or whatever," because when I'm socializing, whatever. So you find that quite comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, it's not so bad anymore. A lot of people around here, at least, they don't drink as much as they used to. I mean, marijuana is legal here, so a lot of people do that instead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would rather see people do that instead of alcohol. It's a lot healthier for you, but you know, that's another topic. But yeah, it's it is it is interesting.
Okay. So, what do you envisage you'll stay on this lifestyle for good? Do you see you'll take time out? What's your future?
I'm gonna stay on it for the time being. I'm gonna stay on it. I can't see any reason why I should go off of it. If I start maybe experiencing health problems that I do need to reincorporate some type of vegetable or fruit, I will. But as of now, I've tried to reincorporate some type of fruits, but didn't work.
Right. Okay. So so staying it as a lean carnivore is best suits you in your current lifestyle. Yeah.
Correct.
Cool. So, for anyone listening, is there anything you want to add, or any message you want to get out there to people watching this?
Just to try it, get out and try it. Try carnivore. It's such a great way of eating. It's not difficult. Once you're on it, it's really not hard. It's brainless. You don't have to count calories. You really don't. As long as you're eating and you eat to a proper fullness and you realize you're full and you stop eating, you're good. You never end up overeating.
And influences for you, like on the internet, etc. Who are the influences for you?
I like Anthony. I like Jordan Peterson. I like all the main ones. I'll even say I like Saladino too.
Yeah. Well, he kind of reintroduced fruits and that, and then hasn't he? Because
yes. Fruits, honey. I mean, I I have no problem with people reincorporating stuff. If it works for them, it's something that they should do.
Yeah. Well, the advantage of this, you
Uh,
start off with the carnivore. It's elimination, isn't it? You're taking away a lot of the
Correct.
inflammatories that your
Yep.
body's. Then, for example, I might eat something that will affect me differently would affect you. So it's as you say, it's that self experiment.
Yeah.
Seeing what does work and doesn't work. So yeah, that's I've got no issue with that at all. So
You got to be your own health advocate.
because interesting enough for me, the other day I had a real craving, totally out of the blue, for dark chocolate. And I don't know why. I couldn't work it out.
Ah.
So I researched, and it turned out that in dark chocolate, it's high in magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
So when I took some electrolytes to get my magnesium level up, that craving went, and I've not had it since. So it's sometimes your body can tell you need this or you need that. You've just got to compute what message it's giving you.
I think that's what carnivore helps people become hyper aware of their that's one big benefit I think of carnivore is you become more aware of what's going on in your own body. You start to realize like, wow, I did have chronic pain for all these years and I just put it off in the back of my mind and I didn't think about it.
Yeah, that's brilliant point. That's a great point to finish on, really. So I'll just say thank everyone for watching. Brian, I'm going to keep in contact with you. I want to see how you progress. I want to, if you agree to be part of my study when I do my PhD and all that.
Absolutely.
Because you could be one of my athletes that because I don't know if you saw, I did a recent post with Ashley Lane is just gone from strength to strength. So I'm keeping in touch with him. So I'm not just doing it elite sport, but I want to cover the whole spectrum. But if you're happy to do that, I'd love to have you as
Absolutely.
part of my research side of it. So I'll just end the recording and then we'll finish off our chat.
All right.